Okay, I am live. Today's topic is how to handle a difficult dispatcher. A driver's guide to staying sane and profitable. Okay, let me jump off into it. It says a record 58.1% of drivers are actively looking for a new job as of spring 2026. And it isn't just about the cents per mile. For nearly a third of those professionals, the breaking point is a total lack of respect from the home office. It's a hard reality to face when the person meant to be your partner on the road treats you like a GPS coordinate instead of a human being. Learning how to handle a difficult dispatcher is a survival skill that keeps your career moving and your blood pressure down while you're out on the sled. You probably know the weight of that silence after you tell a dispatcher you're out of hours, only to hear them push for one more quick drop. It's a dangerous game that puts your CDL and your safety on the line. We promise to equip you with field-tested communication, strategies, and the full weight of the FMCSA Coercion Rule 49 CFR 390.6 to ensure you are never bullied into a violation. We will walk through documenting every interaction, setting firm boundaries for home time, and using your professional value to build a relationship based on mutual respect rather than constant conflict. Key takeaways. Identify whether you are dealing with a pusher, a ghost, or a micromanager to apply the specific tactical response needed for each personality type. Master the facts-only communication style to remove emotional friction and keep every load discussion centered on physical reality and safety. Learn how to handle a difficult dispatcher by moving verbal promises into EDL messaging systems to create an unshakable paper trail for your protection. Recognize the specific legal marker of coercion under FMCSA regulations so you can confidently refuse a legal request without fearing for your livelihood. Establish a clear escalation path to safety managers or fleet owners to resolve chronic conflicts before they impact your sanity or your settlement. All right, table of contents. The driver-dispatcher dynamic. Why friction happens out on the road. Tactical communication. How to speak dispatch to get what you need. The paper trail. Documenting difficult interactions. Know your rights. The FMCSA coercion rule and safety protection. When to walk away. Escalation and finding a better fleet. Okay. The driver dispatcher dynamic. Why friction happens out on the road. Every time you key the mic or pick up your phone or pick up the phone, you're stepping into a high stakes negotiation. The driver dispatcher dynamic is the engine of the industry. But when that engine starts kicking, when the engine starts knocking, it's usually because the person in the office is staring at a screen while you're staring at a four-wheeler cutting you off in a blizzard. Knowing how to handle a difficult dispatcher starts with realizing that their difficult behavior is often a side effect of a high-pressure brokerage or a fleet manager who's never spent a night in a sleeper berth. with a record 58.1% drivers looking for new work in 2026. This friction is often the final straw that sends a professional looking for a new career. You usually encounter three flavors of trouble. The pusher thinks your clock is just a possession. The ghost disappears the moment you have a problem at a receiver. The micromanager wants a status update before you even clear the scale house. Falling into an us versus them mentality is easy, but it's a trap. When you treat the relationship like a war zone, you lose the priority load and the prime mile that keep your settlement healthy. Treating the dispatcher as a tactical partner rather than an enemy is how you stay profitable. And they say to better understand the nuances of this professional relationship, watch this help video. Okay, I'm not gonna play the video. Just keep on going. The reality of the office versus the reality of the cab. There's a massive gap between the digital world and the pavement. A dispatcher sees a blue dot moving across a map. They don't see the 2-hour delay at the terminal, or the fact that you need to run through your DOT inspection level 1 checklist before you can safely hit the interstate. This disconnect is where the friction lives. Modern logistics hubs operate on a load first mentality that treats drivers like an extension of the software. If you're using tools like 123 load board to find your own freight, you at least have some leverage, but you still have to bridge the gap with clear, cold facts about your physical environment. Okay, identifying red flag behavior. You need to know when a dispatcher is just having a bad day and when they're actually a threat to your career. A busy dispatcher might be short with you because they're juggling 50 trucks. An abusive one uses threats to get their way. If they're pushing you to fudge your EDL or ELD, beta, or ignore physical fatigue, that's not just difficult, that's a violation of federal law. Using quality gear from my team products to keep your load secure is your job, but keeping your license clean is your responsibility. Learning how to handle a difficult dispatch means knowing where the professional line is drawn and refusing to cross it. No matter how much pressure the office applies, don't let operational stress turn into regulatory coercion that risks your CDL. Okay, tactical communication. How to speak to dispatcher to get what you need. Communication on the road isn't just about talking, it's about strategy. When you're figuring out how to handle a difficult dispatcher, your best weapon is a facts-only approach. Emotions are like fuel or a fire in the cab. If a dispatcher starts pushing, don't get defensive. Instead, provide the cold, hard data of your situation. Tell them exactly how many hours are left on your clock or the specific weather conditions at the pad. When you strip away the frustration, you leave them with nothing to argue against, but the reality itself. Let me read that again. When you strip away the frustration, you leave them with nothing to argue about or argue against, but reality itself. This method forces the office to deal with the physical limits of the truck and the law rather than trying to negotiate with your feelings. The yes and technique is another powerhouse tool for your arsenal. It allows you to agree to the mission while setting the terms of engagement. For instance, if you're asked to make an impossible delivery window, you might say, yes, I can take that load. And based on my current HOS, which is hours of service, and the mandatory break, the earliest saved delivery is 9 o'clock or 0900 in the morning. You aren't saying no. You're providing a professional solution that keeps you legal. This keeps you in the driver's seat of the conversation and protects you from the FMCSA coercion rule violations that often flow at a flat refusal. Standardizing your check-in also helps. If you call at the same time every day when the office isn't swamped, you build a sense of reliability that makes them less likely to micromanage you later. It creates a rhythm that the office can count on, reducing the number of where are you calls that interrupt your quota. Okay, scripts for common conflict scenarios. Words matter when things get heated. If you're being pushed to run while tired, avoid saying, I'm sleepy. Use the legal terminology. I am currently fatigued and cannot safely operate the vehicle. This phrasing is a signal that you know your rights and won't be bullied. If you find a mechanical issue, don't just say the trailer is junk. Tell them the equipment is currently out of compliance due to a flat spotted tire. It shifts the focus from your opinion to the law. If you are securing a load with gear from my teeth and the dispatcher is rushing you, remind them that cargo securement is a safety requirement, not a suggestion. For those looking to sharpen these negotiation skills, checking out DLA Academy can provide even more leverage in the office. Having a specialized education behind you makes it much harder for a fleet manager to dismiss your concerns. Okay, leveraging professionalism as a shield. Professionalism in trucking is the ability to maintain safety standards under operational pressure. When you stay calm, you become harder to target. A dispatcher can't easily write you up for being a safe, reliable professional who follows the rules. By developing a reputation as a no-drama driver, you actually gain more leverage over time. Dispatchers will eventually start giving you the better payload because they know you'll get the job done without a shouting match. You're out there to make money, not free. But a little tactical respect goes a long way in keeping your wheels turning and your settlement checks consistent. If you want to stay ahead of the curve, the trucker man offers more insight on mastering the business side of the cab. Okay, the paper trail, documenting difficult interactions. Verbal promises in this industry are often worth about as much as a blown tire on the shoulder. If a dispatcher tells you we'll take care of you on the next load or just run it this once, those words vanish the moment you hang up the phone. When you're learning how to handle a difficult dispatcher, you have to realize that your best defense isn't a loud voice. It's a timestamp record. Moving your critical conversations, from phone calls to the ELD messaging system or company email, creates a permanent history that the home office can't ignore or delete when things go sideways. One of the most effective tools in your professional kit is the recap email or message. After a heated or complicated phone call, send a quick summary of what was discussed. You might say, per hour conversation at 1400, you've instructed me to proceed to the receiver despite the weather delay. This is a form of tactical communication that forces the dispatcher to either confirm their instructions in writing or back down from the unreasonable request. It removes the he said, she said dynamic that usually leaves the driver holding the bag. Your documentation should also extend to your equipment and cargo. Using high quality gear from MIT ensures your load securement is beyond reproach before a dispute even starts. When you use reliable tarps and straps from MIT, you can take a quick photo of your securement to prove you've done your job correctly. If a dispatcher tries to blame you for a delay or a cargo issue, you have the photographic evidence to shut that conversation down immediately. Keeping a personal logbook of unreasonable requests is also vital. Whether it's pressure to skip a break or refusal to respect your home time, having a chronological record is how to handle a difficult dispatcher during future HR reviews. Okay, what to document and why? Let's talk about that. Record the date, time, and specific load number for every disagreement or unusual request. Never delete messages from the company's official communication portal. These are your primary evidence in a legal or safety dispute. Capture photos of extreme weather, traffic accident, or shipper delays that the dispatcher may be ignoring from their office chair. Okay, using documentation for self-protection. A clear paper trail is your shield against wrongful termination or a retaliatory DAC report, DAC report. If a company tries to blackball you, your log of documented interactions can be the difference between losing your career and keeping your wheels turning. Remember that you only have 90 days to file a coercion complaint with the FMCSA. So, having your facts organized is essential. A driver's best defense is a chronological log of all safety-related communication. This level of preparedness shows the office that you aren't just a number. You're a professional who knows how to protect his livelihood and his CDL. Okay, right here we have an infographic that shows pretty much, a whole lot of what I just talked about. So I'm not going to read it, but what you can do, once you watch this video, you can go back to the website or back to the stream, the video stream, and you can read this for yourself. But like I said, it's some of a whole lot of the same stuff I already went over. Okay. Know your rights. The FMCSA coercion rule and safety protection. Okay, this is the actual rule. Coercion means when they try to force you to do something. Okay, knowing your rights is the ultimate leverage when you're out on the slab. A dispatcher might try to tell you that a load has to move regardless of what your clock says, but the law is firmly on your side. The FMCSA prohibiting coercion rule, specifically 49 CFR 390.6, the way you find it at in your regulation book, is a federal shield designed to stop carrier, shipper, and broker from bullying you into a safety violation. A whole lot of drivers don't know this. I was telling a guy back here a little while ago that if you feel unsafe, or if you don't feel up to, mentally taking that load, you can refuse that load. But if a dispatcher think you don't know that, they'll try to make you take it. But this is the rule right here. 49 CFR, part 390.6. That's in your federal regulation book. Read that. Okay, understanding how to handle a difficult dispatch requires more than just patience. It requires a firm grasp of these protections. A legal threat isn't always a shouting match. It can be a subtle hint about losing miles or being put at the bottom of the list. I done heard him say that. If you don't play ball within a legal request, I done heard him say that. Back in my earlier day when I first started driving a truck. If they had we had the right to turn low down. But see, the catch to it was this right here. If you turn the low down, the first thing they'll say, well, that's gonna put you at the back of the list. You might have 30 more drivers in front of you. That's just, in a whole lot of time, that don't be true. They just be trying to get you to take that load. Because the thing about it is, that same load that they offer you, that you turn down, you can best believe that 5 or 6 more drivers before you turn that same load down. So that's how I know that they be lying about you going to the back of the line, or the back of the list. More than you turned it down. But anyway, okay, if you believe you've been coerced, or if you believe you've been forced to do anything, take a load, whatever the case. Like I said, that's what coercion means. They force you to do something that you don't want to do. You have a 90-day window to file a formal complaint through the National Consumer Complaint Database. Yep, that's where you do it. This process is your way of holding the home office accountable. And when you go to 49 CFR 390.6, you're gonna see this organization right here, the National Consumer Complaint Database. It's gonna have their name, which is this name right here. It's gonna have their address, their phone number. It's gonna have all that. So you'll be able to contact them if you feel you've been forced to do something that you wasn't comfortable, with doing. Okay, this process is your way of holding the home office. Okay, I read that accountable. Okay, whether you are navigating the differences of interstate versus intrastate regulations or dealing with the local hub, the core safety rules remain your baseline. Don't let the pressure of a deadline or a dispatcher's bonus structure put your TDL at risk. Okay, interstate and intrastate. I know a whole lot of y'all might know the difference, but just in case somebody come across this article and read this and don't know the difference, interstate means when you cross state lines from state to state. Intrastate means when you stay inside of one state. Just say like Louisiana or Texas. You want to run just that state. That's called intrastate. And the rules and regulations may be different if you run an intrastate. Now, for the most part, all of the rules gonna be the same, whether you run an interstate or intrastate. But they do change if you run an in-state, which is intrastate. So you might want to check your. Of course, you're gonna check your federal regulation guidelines, but you want to check your state regulation guidelines too, which is intrastate, in-state again. That's what that means. Okay, the 4 elements of legal coercion. To prove coercion in a legal sense, 4 specific elements must be present. Okay, first, a dispatcher or carrier must request that you perform a task that will result in a regulatory violation. such as exceeding HOS or hours of service limits or moving unsafe equipment. Second, you must clearly state your objection based on that violation. Third, there must be a documented threat of adverse employment action, like a loss of pay or a write-off. Finally, the dispatcher must have known, or should have known, that the requested act was a violation. Keeping your gear in top shape with reliable equipment from my team removes any doubt about your own professional standard during these disputes. Okay, those were elements. Yeah, I know a whole lot of drivers run into these and run into this. So these are the four elements that give you a right to dispute against what their dispatcher, is trying to get you to do, or whatever the case. But like I said, you can go back and read it at your own leisure. Okay, invoking the safety first clause. When the conversation turns into a confrontation, stop the back and forth by formally stating your position. Use clear language. I am invoking my right to refuse this load based on safety and HOS concerns. This isn't just an opinion. It's a legal boundary. Your EOD data is your strongest card in this argument. If the screen shows you're out of time, the discussion is over. Let me say that again. If the screen shows you're out of time, the discussion is over. If your Qualcomm or your Samsung or whatever computer you're running, if it's showing all zeros, or if it's showing zeros on your 11 and your 14, it ain't nothing to talk about. That clock is simply telling you can't run. So if you are still forced to run with that clock telling you can't run, you can dispute that. Okay, the same logic applies to your equipment. Listen to this. The same logic applies to your equipment. Use your CDL pre-trip inspection checklist as a hard line in the sand. If the truck isn't compliant, it doesn't move. By using high quality procurement tools from my team, you ensure that your side of the safety equation is always covered. If you need to sharpen your knowledge of these regulations, stay updated with our latest driver safety guidelines. So, to understand what this is saying, not just you running on a run out clock or whatever the case, or a bad trailer. If you have equipment on that trailer that's bad, and you can't secure that load, because I know in flatbed, every load requires by the weight a certain amount of security. And if you don't have the proper amount of security to secure that load due to having a bad ratchet or a bad chain, you ain't got to pull that load. If that load requires 12 securement pieces on that just say you hold a load of steel beams, and just say you need 5 chains and 5 binders, but you only have 3 chains and 3 binders. If that load is calling for 5 and you only have 3 because 2 is bad, you ain't got to pull that load. You're not in compliance. You're out of compliance due to the fact you don't have the amount of securement that load called for. So you can stay right there until you get the securement you need, but they cannot force you to move that load if the securement is not up to par and you can't secure that load, fully. All right, now, and I'm pretty sure dry van the same way. And other, niches in this industry. Okay, when to walk away. Escalation and finding a better fleet. This is when you have to quit right here. Now, sometimes the road with a specific carrier simply runs out. If you master tactical communication and built a bulletproof paper trail, but still face constant disrespect or pressure to run illegal, the problem isn't just one person. It's the company culture. Yep, that's what they do. Anytime they're forcing you to do, because see, if the people in the company didn't know about this here, why should a dispatcher be studying trying to force a driver to do something what we're doing? And not just one driver, but many drivers. It's a culture. It's a company culture, like they say right here. Now, knowing how to handle a difficult dispatcher includes recognizing when the individual is actually a mouthpiece for a toxic organization. With a record, here it is again, with a record 58.1% of drivers actively seeking new opportunities in 2026. You don't have to settle for a seat that risks your CDL. Before you turn in your keys, use tools like 123 Lobo to see the current freight landscape and understand your value in a market where capacity is tightening and rates are on the rise. Okay, the internal escalation process. This is what you do before leaving for another company. Before jumping ship, try one final professional move. Request a formal meeting with the safety manager or the dispatcher supervisor. And listen, a whole lot of times you do that, it works. You can get it worked out. Because a whole lot of times the dispatcher supervisor may not know what the dispatcher is doing. And if they find out, they'll get rid of that dispatcher. Or they'll disciplinary that dispatcher. I've seen that done. Don't frame it as a simple complaint session. Instead, approach it as a discussion about operational efficiency and communication style. Present the documentation you've been keeping, the log of unreasonable requests, and the recap messages mentioned earlier. This shows the home office that you aren't a problem driver, but a professional dealing with a systemic issue. If the company values your safety record and on-time performance, they might offer a dispatcher reassignment, or they just switch the dispatcher, get you another dispatcher. However, if the supervisor makes excuses for the behavior or ignores the data, you have your answer about the company. True priority. That's right. If the dispatcher supervisor try to side with the dispatcher, they tell you all you need to know right there. They tell you all you need to know. It's a culture thing. They all behind running the league and doing illegal stuff. It's time to jump ship. Time to go. Okay, transitioning without burning bridges. This is a good one here because you never know. I always tell guys, I even tell people this that's not interesting. No matter what kind of job you have, always try to leave in good standing. Don't never burn bridges because you may have to go back there. Even though I know we don't like looking back. But when all else fails, you may have to go back to that job. And they may be glad to take you back. I have had jobs that I've left. And when I leave, and one of the jobs was a trucking job. Well, more than one. But they would always tell me, if you want to come back, just give us a call. That's because I was a good driver, I did my job, and I didn't burn bridges. Transitioning to a new fleet requires a tactical exit strategy. Never quit over the Qualcomm. Exactly. Or leave a trailer at a random few hours. That's right. That's abandonment. You won't get a job nowhere doing that. These actions are career killers. Yep. And will hunt your dad report for years. Right. I have heard of guys leaving trucks at truck stops. But I guarantee you they'll never get another job. Not a commercial job. They might get some, hauling grain or something like that in a field or whatever the case. But they ain't gonna get they not gonna get hired by no commercial carrier. Because the way I see it, if you left that truck, you leave my truck somewhere. And I don't blame him. Can't trust that driver. If you're going to leave right, do it the right way. Okay, give a standard notice. Yep. And ensure every piece of equipment, company equipment, is returned and signed for to prevent fraudulent theft claims. Right. Yeah, because what if you leave that truck out there and somebody steal it? Excuse me. They have had drivers that leave their truck and everything in the truck. Their clothes, refrigerators, laptops, microwaves, I'm talking about everything. Just left it there. Just said the heck with it. Okay, while you're loading your personal IT gear into your own vehicle, take a moment to realize that your professionalism is what makes you valuable. When a recruiter asks why you left, don't vent. Simply explain that you are seeking a career, that you are seeking a carrier that aligns with your high standards for safety and equipment maintenance. A driver who uses top-tier matching equipment and maintains a clear NVR is a prize for any quality fleet in today's competitive market. Yep. Read that again. A driver who uses top-tier matching equipment and maintains a clear NVR is a prize for any quality fleet in today's competitive market. That's what I was just saying. If you're on the up and up and you're doing things the right way, and you got a clean CDL, clean deck, anybody how you. Okay, master your care in your career. Navigating the daily grind of the industry requires more than just knowing how to shift gears. It requires the tactical mindset of a seasoned professional. You've learned that mastering how to handle a difficult dispatcher isn't about winning a shouting match. It's about using the 2026 FMCSA safety regulations as your baseline and maintaining a methodical paper trail that the home office can't ignore. By keeping your cool and documenting every interaction, you protect your CDL and your DAC report from the brutality of a high-pressure brokerage. This guide was built from the perspective of a veteran driver who has seen it all. And it's yours truly, myself. I hadn't seen it all, but I've seen a whole lot. And it's designed to keep you legal and profitable. If your current fleet refuses to respect your hours or your safety, remember that you have the leverage in this market. Tired of office-side drama? Take control of your career and find better load with 123 load board. You are the captain of your ship, and with the right strategies, you can navigate any personality conflict while keeping your wheels turning toward a better settlement. Stay safe out there on the slab and visit the trucker for the latest industry news. The Trucker Man, rather. It's the truckerman.com. Okay. Frequently asked questions. This is what some drivers are asking. Can a dispatcher force me to drive if I'm out of hours? Nope. We just went over that. A dispatcher cannot legally force you to drive once you have exhausted your hours of service. Doing so is a direct violation of federal safety regulations and triggers the FMCSA coercion rules. Right, you being forced. Like I said again in the beginning, this is what that word means, coercion, trying to force you to do something beyond that's not in compliance with the FMCSA or FMCSR. If you're pushed, reference your EDL data immediately and stand your ground. Your CDL is your livelihood. Don't let an office side request put it at risk for a single load. Okay, another question they ask. What should I do if my dispatcher is ignoring my messages while I'm at a shipper? This is what you do. Document the exact arrival time and every message sent through your company's official portal. If you're being ghosted for more than an hour, Call the main dispatch line or the night shift supervisor to get an update. Keeping a record of these delays ensures you have proof for detention, pay claims later. It's about protecting your clock and your settlement from poor office communication. Okay, here's another question that they're asking. Is it illegal for a dispatcher to threaten my pay if I refuse an unsafe load? Yes, that's illegal. Threatening your pay for future work opportunities or refusing to an unsafe load is illegal under 49 CFR 390.6. There it is again. You know, I was always told when I was coming up, if you read something more than one time, or if you hear somebody say something more than one time, I was always told to pay attention to that. This rule, 49 CFR 390.6, has been mentioned probably about 3 or 4 times before this time. And like I said, that's where you go. That's the rule that tell you about being forced or being put in coercion to do something you ain't liable to do. Check it out. This is the definition of coercion. You must document the threat in writing and report it to the FMCSA within, you got 90 days to do this. If you are ever forced to do something that is not lawful in that truck, you have 90 days to file it. After those 90 days, it may not work. Always ensure your cargo securement is top notch, using gear from MIT to prove the refusal is strictly about safety, not laziness. My T is up here. Go to one of these banners right here. You can get the My T right here. Or you can go up here and click there. And you'll see all the tools there. Okay. Here's another question that's being asked by John. How do I request a different dispatch without getting fired? Okay, request a professional meeting with the fleet manager for safety direction to discuss a communication style mismatch. Okay, your fleet manager, that's the dispatcher supervisor. The safety director, he's over safety. Avoid making it personal. Instead, focus on how a different pairing would improve your efficiency and load count. Learning how to handle a dispatcher often involves realizing that a personality class is costing the company money. Frame the request as a way to increase your mutual profitability. Okay, here's another question. Can I record phone calls with my dispatcher to use as evidence? Check your state's, I'm about to say no, but I'm about to say yes and no, but check this out. Check your state's wiretapping laws before recording, as some require two-party consent. However, the safer and more professional route is to move all critical conversations to the ELD. Right. Put it in writing. Put it on your Qualcomm, ELD messaging system, or email. That way, cause see, even a phone call can get lost. But if you got it documented in that Qualcomm, most of the time it's gonna be right there. Written records are much harder for a carrier to dispute in court or doing an HR review. Yep, what I just saying. A time-stamped message is the ultimate black box for protecting your career during office-side disputes. Here's another question. What is the difference between dispatcher pressure and legal coercion? Pressure is a dispatcher asking you to see what you can do to make a deadline. Coercion happens when their request is followed by a threat or punishment, right? if you refuse to violate a safety regulation. Yeah, forcing you. To prove coercion, you must have an illegal request, right? Which is what we covered earlier. So go back and read this stuff. A refusal based on safety and a consequent threat. Understanding this distinction is key when figuring out how to handle a difficult dispatch illegally. Okay, here's another question. Should I talk to the safety department about a difficult dispatch? Yes. Yes. The safety department is your strongest internal ally when a dispatcher is pushing you toward violation. They are responsible for the carrier safety rating and will often intervene to protect the company from liability. Present your documented paper trail to them as evidence of systemic pressure. This keeps the conversation focused on regulatory compliance rather than just a personal disagreement between you and the officer. Okay. The last question that they ask: how do I handle a dispatcher who constantly changes my load assignment at the last minute? Ask for a facts-only explanation for the change and document how it impacts your HOS and earnings. If this becomes a pattern, it usually indicates poor planning, right, or favoritism, in the office. Use your recap email to show the supervisor how the last-minute shifts are hurting your productivity. If the instability continues, it might be time to look for a fleet with more consistent load planning. Okay, so that does it for today. At the bottom right, this is my disclaimer that protects me. If you have any comments, you can leave your comments here. Your name, your email address. If you got a website, your website, or whatever the case. But yeah, like I said, go back and read this article for yourself. We have courses on. You can contact me right here. We have courses right here. Go down through. We have all kind of courses. You can bus endorsement, forklift certification, all kind of different certifications. Got a load board right here. ELD training, flatbed tools, the more flatbed tools, bookstore. So yeah, just go back and read. I'm gonna go ahead and end this live, but y'all keep those wheels turning.